See, and that was the way he thought. It was like, he's got.
You stopped there. How did he get it off the track?
Well, I did. Well, that's funny. I did
drive it off the end of the thing.
Ian, David, and Quinn started out to make a $50 million movie based on Ian's book, TJ's War. Mark, Sia, and Sincera soon jumped on board, and then Mr. Z joined the team, a mysterious executive producer who said, "Stop, this is no movie. This is a 2-season, 20-episode TV show. So follow us, join us as we create TJ's War, the $50 million TV series."
Well, all right. I like that. I like that better than when we first started doing like the cross. It's a cross between, we were like, it's a cross between When Harry Meets Sally and, the Terminator. I don't know. We were so way out there. And so I think we've honed it in, we've got it, whittled down.
Also, we were quite fixated when we were doing the episode summaries on just how gritty it should be, and perhaps even, bleak, and really hammering home the message about why TJ ends up drinking so heavily. And then we started to get a bit of feedback, and people were saying, people do still want to watch this, and it made us realize that, oh yeah, well, we knew it was going to be exciting. We knew it was going to be incredibly compelling and sort of unputdownable, but we weren't getting that across really in what we were putting together. So we went, well, not back to the drawing board, but we kind of were at pains then to remind us, and therefore whoever's going to be reading our treatments, that this is going to be incredibly exciting TV as well. It's going to be really, really watchable, but and yet with those undertones. So I think that's where was it Guns of Never reference came from.
Say that that combination of films was it was a producer who's not connected directly with the project, who had read the treatment and came back with that assessment of the treatment. So we can't even say that we came up with that. It was part of this process of taking the treatment out. Now it's complete, and getting that kind of feedback. So, which was very encouraging to us. I keep speaking for everybody, but I don't mean to.
What we haven't had is any feedback saying, "I'm not really sure you've got anything here. I'm not really sure this is makeable. I'm not really sure anyone's going to be interested." Everyone has come back with something positive, or something, just, a detail about how we're presenting it perhaps. But, there's lots of kind of interested, nobody's jumping up and down and saying, oh my God, I want to make this, because, we're still a bit untried, untested, and it's still at fairly early days and stuff. But everyone is coming back with sort of useful feedback. And for me, the underlying subtext of whatever anyone is saying is, this is something.
Yeah. I'm trying to get a big name. I should tell you now that I was in Italy 2 weeks ago, and we drove down to Lake Como and stayed in this beautiful medieval village called Palazzo. And George Clooney's house was directly across the lake. So one particular day, I got in the car and drove round to his house and knocked on the door with the book, and he wasn't there. He only turns up in the spring, apparently. But this gorgeous woman called Stefania Muti, who's an opera director, took the book and she said, "I'm going to read this, and if I like it, I'll give it to George." So, George, if you're out there, find Stefania and take the book off her. It's your best chance yet to.
Can we tag George in the comments?
This may be a question more for our bi-weekly in-house meetings behind the scenes, but I'm just going to ask it here, and if it doesn't work out, then Quinn can cut it. But have we talked about a step between us and the screenwriter, director, or actor the big name that is getting an agent to represent us, an agent who has the connections that we're looking for? It seems like we're all trying to like knock on George Clooney's door or ring up Scorsese and hoping he'll pick up the phone. You know, what about hiring someone who has those who has those phone numbers, who has those email addresses that can actually contact those people, getting an agent to represent our endeavor?
That is literally at the top of our to-do list.
Yeah.
Oh,
That is one of the things that we're going to do.
excellent.
And look at UK/European representation, and or the other side of the pond, US representation.
That's excellent.
Maybe both, depending on how it works. But
Hmm.
certainly starting with UK and European, yeah.
Yeah.
The answer is
And
yes.
getting them to be excited about it, because I've had an agency for the book who took me on board, but could not get them to get involved at all. I think because the book was already published and because we're talking about producing a TV series, I think they took me on board as a one of their talent, and would wait for the money to roll in, and that's not what's required. If you're an agent watching this podcast, you need to explain to us why we want you, as much as the other way around. We're not fresh out of film school. You know, we're not green faced youths. We've all done a lot in our lives, and we know our own value, and we want to make sure that we keep recruiting the right people.
Yeah, we're not going for any bidder.
What does success look like for TJ's War in the short term versus the long term? We know our long term goals. I mean, and we just talked about, okay, maybe the next step is agency, but what is success in the near future?
The near future success for me is there is funding out there, not for the whole thing, but seed funding, early stages funding. There are ways to do that, and we're finding out about that. So that will enable us to help with the first stages of getting into the right places and getting in front of the right people, and possibly help with writing that all-important pilot episode. So that's the work for the next few months. Yeah. And everyone continuing with the outreach and generation of positivity and connections.
Ian?
And having fun. It's a the end goal.
I love waking up at 5 a.m. and seeing you guys. I got to tell you, I have fun every time. I mean, after a series of curse words before I join the meeting, but it's always fun.
And we should mention at this point, there's Quinn, who's doing all our videos, putting them together, and all the other social media. And there's Matt, the co-producer, who is very much doing great stuff in the background. He's not a man for the front of the camera, is he, David?
No, he's not interested in that at all.
But he's
producer,
doing a fantastic job. And Sia, of course, pulling all these people together. I mean, a lot of the people that we've interviewed have come from Sia's notebook, and just fantastic. And she's across in Texas, but she's all over America at different conferences, meeting people, and that's where a lot of our guests have come from, and from Mark, of course, who's produced a number of really interesting guests as well, and more to come. And then there's Sincera, who I never forget because he's got this voice that I don't know. Sia introduced us, and he's just a hell of a guy. And we don't. I'd like to interview Sincera again because I just think he's a hell of a guy. with this wonderful voice that introduces and exits every one of our podcasts.
I've got just a few more questions. This is a bit changing the subject a little, but are there aspects of the story that we feel are non-negotiable for adaptation?
Is that to me?
Yeah, I guess what it should be to you first, I suppose. I mean, I guess
No,
TJ has to
not
be in
really,
it.
because I regard the TV series as a very different beast to the book. I think um, people will more than likely, when it's produced on screen, watch the TV series and then think, I'd like to read the book. By which point I'll be long dead. Yeah. And they'll be reading it going, gosh, I wish I met Ian when he was alive. Well, too late. But anyway,
I'm always surprised by that answer, Ian. I think you're amazingly magnanimous about it. Perhaps because you're so close to the story, but wouldn't there have to come a point where, if it were just so different, if it were called TJ's War but bore no resemblance, wouldn't you feel kind of, I don't know, like
Yeah, there has to be
satisfied?
some
Or
fundamental components, and I think one of those is, this is an anti-war movie or whatever. Like, there has to be the message of, hey, war is stupid, and why do we do this, and look at the repercussions of it, that being not, well, there are array of repercussions, but TJ's alcoholism and, just the
I've got one.
sure.
If they turned it into a hero movie, that
Yeah,
wouldn't work for me.
right. That's a great point. Right. That's an excellent point.
as a young RAF officer, I was taught an acronym called SMEAC, SMEAC. And this is an acronym that was, maybe it's still being used, to brief your team when you're about to do something. And it's all about getting as much of what you know about the operation into the heads of the people who are listening to you. So SMEAC stands for Situation, Mission, Execution, Any Questions. Now, everyone does that. The chances are you'll do that off the top of your head. But the final one, the C of SMEAC, is Check Understanding. And a lot of people don't do that. And really, the situation is we're going to take this hill. The situation is that we've got the enemy all around us, and we've got to create a breakout. So we're going to our mission is to take this hill. We're going to do it by Team A creating a diversion off to the right, Team B off to the left, and the main force will go up, covered in smoke, and take the top of the hill. Team A, this is your time. These are the people who are going to be in it. Team B, etc. Any questions? Oh, no, sir. That's fine. Okay. What time is Team A going to be at the bottom of the hill? And you'll get 5 different answers. Where's the smoke going to be? Where's the main force going up? What hill are we attacking? You'll get different answers for all of these questions when you are checking understanding. And it is astonishing what people take away from you when you say something.
That's great.
It never ceased in my entire career in management. It's never ceased to amaze me how many different stories one can get when you're telling them one thing.
What was the E?
So what does that? Sorry,
Execution.
What was the E? Execution.
What does that mean? You're thinking about this? Does that mean that when we're presenting the pitch, we have to be all the more definite with it? Or
no, there's no point.
Don't bother.
Well, I learned something. I could use this for my teaching. I mean, I was going through these, and I'm like, this is exactly when I'm teaching Japanese professionals some kind of idiom or some kind of whatever I'm teaching them. I'm like, I have a mission. That's the goal. I don't get off track here, but but I always have to check their understanding at the end. I'm like, well, this actually works for teaching too. So,
yeah,
anyway.
I've used it my entire career.
Good.
I don't really. I've written the story because I've written it and because I've published it. It's there. It's there exactly as I want it to be. And the audiobook takes it to a higher level. I think you took it to a level with the audiobook, even though you didn't change a single word, David, where it's even better.
Well,
but
there wasn't a lot of improv.
we're not the directors, we're not the script writers, we're not the producers. We can say what we like to them, but they're going to produce what they're going to produce, and it can be completely different, and we have no control over it. So I'm not going to worry about it. I just hope that once they've watched the film, or the TV series rather, they will then read the book.
Yeah, and if it's that different, then we'll sue them and do a producer's cut. That's not what we meant at all.
Are there risks or obstacles that you worry about where we are now, that you worry about the next stage of the production? Like, is there something that you worry, like, oh, that, you know, this could just nix the whole project? You know, well, I mean, whether it's someone stealing the idea and making JT's War instead of TJ's War, you know, they just change a few things. And
I don't think so, because we've got this wonderful asset in the book. You know, I know, you know, there are going to be lots of war movies made,
right?
But if they tried to make something called JT's War, it'd be pretty obvious.
Yeah, I mean, the intellectual property's there. I mean, it's written, and so they couldn't steal too much of it that it was obvious, right? Yeah. But I mean, are there other, or what? There's another obstacle I think we've talked about before, and that's like, okay, well, there's one reason why we don't just shoot the treatment all over Hollywood, right? Because then it's, you know, I mean, if it's not ready, then we don't get a second shot, I guess is where I'm going. You know, if there's something flawed in the treatment, and we've sent it to every production company, agent, you know, actor, director, in all of Hollywood and elsewhere, and then we didn't see the flaw, we're probably not going to get a second bite at the apple, so to speak.
Yeah. In terms of your question, yeah, you're right.
I agree with that. I also think that at some point quite soon we will start to get into legalese, and we will there'll be lawyers involved on both sides, or how many sides there are, and I think we will need that to be very tightly managed. Otherwise, it can become a very deep, expensive dark hole.
Yeah, and there is actually one thing which might end up being out of our control, which is if we are optioned, which I think we've covered in the past. Yeah. And with the best of intentions, if they appear to be doing it with the best of intentions, we're going to make it. Yeah. And then let's say it's a 2-year option and they have no intention of doing anything with it. It's just going to be in the long grass. And
that happens more than it happens more than it does. Like, more projects get optioned and not made than get optioned and become made. So, I mean, we're actually, you know, if we get optioned, and for anyone listening that isn't familiar with that, you know, basically a production company, you know, could pay us a small amount of money to have the rights to make the film, so nobody else can make the film. And those rights, you know, there will be a time period on it, like a year or 2 years or whatever. And this happens all the time in the business. And they option a screenplay, and then they don't make it, and it never gets made. And,
because they're making their own. They want to make sure that there are no other equivalent stories.
Yeah. They don't want someone else to make it. That happens a lot. They don't want to make it, but they don't want someone else to make it. So they buy the rights to it, you know, on the cheap.
That's when we make JT's War.
There you go. We'll make JT's War. At this point, if you could give advice to someone else, some other, you know, ragtag band of misfits that they were at the starting point, if you could give advice to someone or a group starting a project like this today, based on our experience so far, what would your advice be?
Well, I'm really not sure I'm in any position to give anyone advice, but you know, where there's a will,
you'll see. if you go onto LinkedIn and you look up my profile on LinkedIn, I give you one piece of advice in my profile, and that is the trick to success is to surround yourself with good people.
Mm.
And that's the only piece of advice I give. I've used that for a long time too, and always, I'm pretty happy with my career, and I'm very happy with what we've done here.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a piece of advice that my business mentor, the person I consider my business mentor, he's passed away now, but he was a very savvy businessman. He had owned 4 different businesses in his life, and all of them were multi-million-dollar businesses. And he was a firm believer in start before you're ready. So many people you will like wait till everything's perfect to start their own business or to write their book or whatever, and then they never do it because it's never perfect. And so, he was the type of guy. One of my favorite stories is I had worked with him when he owned a plant nursery business, and a large one, maybe the largest one in Birmingham, Alabama. And long story short, he had ordered a forklift. He had like a Bobcat and he had other big equipment, but he needed a forklift. And he ordered one without knowing how he was going to get it off the flatbed truck onto the ground, because we had a loading dock, but it wasn't going to match up. And so he tasked me one day. He was like, Mark, I need you to go find this forklift's going to be here in 2 days. I need you to find a way to get it on the ground. I'm like, what do you mean? His name was Steve. I was like, what do you mean, Steve? He's like, well, go around to businesses around here and see if they have a loading dock and that they'll let us borrow it for, an hour. I'm like, are you kidding me? We can't get it off the truck. He's like, no. And he said, I already bought it. And so it's on the way. So he had already paid for it without knowing how he was
You're the
going to get it.
solution, Mark.
And you're right. And he's like, so your job today is go find how I can get it off the truck and onto level ground. And I don't care if it's a mile away. We'll just drive it down the street or something. But he's like, go find that. And I was like, are you kidding me? And he said, no, I already paid for it. So I've got to find out how to get it off the truck. So, and that was the way he thought. It was like, he's got.
You stopped there? How did he get it off the truck?
Well, I did. That's funny. I did
drive it off the end of the thing.
No, first I went to a grocery store and they said no, because a grocery store, has those like 3 big grocery store in the States would have like 3 loading docks where they could back up 3 18-wheelers and unload them at the same time. But and I went there and they said absolutely not. They said we don't want the liability. But I found, and I had to go up further up the road. Anyway, I found it was a newspaper. It was like the center where newspapers come before the delivery boy sends them out in the morning, throws them out in the morning. So all the newspapers come to this one, like it was just a nondescript brick building. It didn't have a sign or anything. I just saw it, but I saw it had a loading dock. And I went and asked them and they're like, oh, sure. Why not? They were just, but it was like maybe a little more than half a mile down the road. So we had the truck go to that location. We put it on the loading dock and we were able to get it on it. And sure enough, Steve's driving a forklift on the side of like a 4-lane highway road. I mean, I'm sure it was illegal, but I mean, all he had to do is make it half a mile away, and then he could pull it into his plant nursery, and he did without incident. So he did it. And that's the point. Is like he would start something without knowing how he was going to finish it.
Yeah.
And I think that's great advice.
No,
you
I
just
think
got to go forward.
that's very good.
Yeah, very good.
I think
very good.
There's always a way.
Right.
It doesn't matter what the problem is. There's always a way. I don't know why that should be the
try
case.
Programming AI with that.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Yeah.
That's what we can do.
Yeah.
So there we are.
Well, that's all I got, fellas. Any parting words before we wrap it up?
No, that was very good.
Short and sweet. I just want to thank everybody who's been involved in this in any way at all so far. There hasn't. Mark was saying, "Who's your top 3?" I couldn't begin to tell you. I couldn't even give you my bottom 3. It's been fantastic. It's a really, really. I think it's one of the best things I've ever done. My children, marrying my 3rd wife. Apart from that, this is the best thing I've ever done, and it's just it makes you feel good, and we will succeed in this. I think we are succeeding. I think we're doing extremely well. The progress we've made so far is ahead of where I thought we would be at this point.
You know, you
And
hear about Olympians that they get to the end and they win they win their medal, and then about 30 seconds later, a lot of them say, "Oh, I actually feel really deflated now. What now?" And I think once we get this made and it's on a screen, I think we may well look back and think, "Oh, that was the good bit."
I don't
I
know.
like that.
When
I think that's true.
We're in it. We're in it. This is it.
When I'm cashing my check from when my royalties check, I might be just thinking, well, actually, this is the good bit.
All right. The
right.
meet up in Rio, yeah, that'll be quite good as well. Yeah.
Right, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. I have a feeling that when Ian gives his Oscar acceptance speech, that they're gonna have to play him off with the music. I want to think he's gonna have like the list, and he's like, and then I want to thank the pizza delivery guy. I want to thank and he's just gonna like thank everybody, and they have to bring out the cane and
I'd like
pull
to
him off the stage.
I'll tell you.
Yeah. House lights up, stage lights off.
Well, that's all. Thanks for joining us for another riveting episode of We Are Making a $50 Million TV Show, although I do think it's going to be more than 50 million. I'm Mark Reed, David Blair, Ian McLean. Thanks so much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Bye.
To find out more about the book, visit tjswar.com. And to buy it, click on the Amazon link below. So follow us, join us as we create TJ's War, the $50 million TV series.